Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Doc Padama. This time, we will be doing a live version of a video that I previously created here in our YouTube channel entitled 20 Madalas na Tanong sa Research Defense. So sinabi nating live dahil ako mismo yung makikita ninyo na magbibigay ng tanong sa inyo at ako din yung magpapaliwanag kung paano nyo dapat sagutin ang mga tanong na ito at kung saan ninyo makikita itong mga tanong na pag-uusapan natin. So ulitin natin, gagamitin natin ang mga lengguwaheng Filipino at English sa pag-uusap natin tungkol dito sa madalas na tanong sa research defense. Simulan na natin sa unang tanong. What is the objective of your study? So ulitin natin yung tanong. What is the objective of your study? Kapag ito ang tanong na ibinigay sa inyo, ang ibig sabihin ng objective ay yung direksyon. Ano ang gusto ninyong malaman doon sa study na dinidefend ninyo? What is the objective, the goal, or the direction of your study? Lahat ito pare-pareho. So ulitin natin, saan makikita ang sagot dito sa tanong na what is the objective of your study? Balikan ninyo yung tinatawag natin research title. Ulitin natin, balikan ninyo yung inyong research title. Yung mga unang salita, una o pangalawang salita, ay nagpapakita nung tinatawag nating objective of the study. Halimbawa, ang pamagat ng inyong research is the effect of blended learning to the academic performance of selected students. Gamitin natin halimbawa itong title na ito. Ulitin natin, ang title ng research na gagamitin nating halimbawa, the effects of blended learning to the academic performance of selected students. Papaano dapat sagutin yung unang tanong? So, sabihin ninyo, the objective of our study, kuha nyo the objective of our study is to identify the effects of blended learning to the academic performance of selected students. Anong ginawa natin doon? Meron lang akong idinagdag na mga salita doon sa mismong research title. Ulitin natin. Ang research title ninyo is The Effects of Blended Learning to the Academic Performance of Selected Students. Ano yung dinagdag nating salita? The aim or the goal, kasi tinatanong what is the goal or objective of your study, yun din yung gamitin nyo. So the objective of our study is to identify the effects of blended learning to the academic performance of selected students. Yun lang sentence na yon ang dapat ninyong maging sagot doon sa tanong na ibinigay sa inyo. Bakit? This is another reminder. Kapag kayo nasa defense, palagi kong inuulit ito. Aside from being familiar with your manuscript, ibig sabihin yung actual na research ninyo, dapat alam ninyo yung ins and out, cover to cover ng inyong research paper, ng inyong manuscript. And then, sabi ko nga, yung isa pang kailangan yung malaman kapag kayo ay nagde-defend ng inyong research is makinig kayo sa tanong. So, kung ang tanong sa inyo is ibigay nyo lang kung ano yung objective, ang sagot ninyo dapat eksakto, specific. Kung ano yung itinanong, yun lang ang ibinigay o ibibigay ninyong sagot. You do not need to expound, to explain, to discuss kapag hindi kasama sa tanong na ibinigay sa inyo. I-practice nyo yun palagi. Yun yung kailangan yung ma-train sa sarili ninyo. Kailangang masanay sa sarili ninyo. Na kung ano lang yung ibinigay na tanong, pigilan nyo yung sarili ninyo na pahabain. Kasi habang humahaba yan, dumadami yung mga bagay na hindi mo napapansin, hindi na pala kasama doon sa itinatanong. That is question number 1. Question number 2. Ikalawang tanong. What motivated you to choose or conduct the study? Question number 2. Imagine ninyo ako yung panel ninyo. My dear researchers, what motivated you to conduct the study? Okay, Kat. Paano nyo ngayon sasagutin yan? Analyze nyo yung tanong. Yung motivation ninyo sa pagpili ng study ninyo, yun ang itinatanong. Ano ang nag-udyok? Ano ang nagtulak sa inyo na piliin yung title na pinopropose ninyo? Okay? So, kung iisipin ninyo, ito ay makikita sa siguro mga dalawang bahagi ng inyong research paper. Pwede nyong gamitin na basihan para masagot itong tanong na ito. At ang unang bahagi dyan ay yung tinatawag nating rationale of the study. Ang rationale of the study ay the reason. Rationale referring to the reason o yung dahilan kung bakit ito ang pinili ninyong title or topic or issue ng inyong research paper. Sabi natin, dapat nakalagay ito sa manuscript ninyo, sa inyong research paper. Saan nyo dapat ito ilagay? Nasa last paragraph ito ng introduction of the study. Okay? Bago mag-significance of the study. Ang unang bahagi niyan sa chapter 1, the background of the study. Nandyan yung introduction, tapos yung background, and then bago mag-significance of the study, yung last paragraph ng inyong background of the study, dapat nandyan nakalagay lahat ng mga pwede nyong ibigay na dahilan kung bakit ito ang nag-udyok sa inyo na piliin itong topic or issue na ito. So, ang pwede nyong gamitin kung wala pa kayong nailalagay dyan, ang pwede nyong ilagay ay ano ang relevance ng issue sa inyo bilang estudyante. Okay? Paano siya connected or related sa inyo? Now, pwede nyo sagutin yon sa pamamagitan ng pagbigay ng epekto nitong issue sa inyo bilang estudyante. Okay, paano nakakaapekto itong issue? Kagaya ng example natin kanina, blended learning. Paano nakakaapekto ang blended learning sa inyo bilang estudyante? Pangalawa, ano-ano ang mga epekto? So, base sa mga nakita ninyo sa mga nakaraang klase, sa mga nakaraang semester, sa mga nakaraang taon, ito yung mga naging epekto. Pero, kailangan meron kayong basihan. Hindi lang pure observation, kailangan may basis. So, pwede kayo ngayong gumamit ng citation doon sa rationale of the study ninyo na according to the study of ganito, ang blended learning daw po ay nagpapakita ng mga sumusunod na epekto. Okay, ulitin natin, balik tayo doon sa tanong. What motivated you to conduct the study? Doon yun nakukunin. Number 1, we are directly affected by the issue and the effects are the following. Hindi ba yung ipinaliwanag ko? Pwede nyo nang kunin doon. So, basically, doon sa rationale of the study, pwede na yung maging matibay na basihan ng sagot ninyo doon sa ikalawang tanong na what motivated you to choose the study? Okay? Question number 3. Ikatlong tanong. What will be the contribution of your study to the existing body of knowledge? Ulitin natin, imagine ninyo ako yung panel ninyo. My dear researchers, what will be the contribution of your study to the existing body of knowledge? Okay, meron dalawang bahagi or dalawang basihan na pwede ninyong gamitin sa inyong research manuscript para masagot itong tanong na ito. Analyze muna natin yung tanong. Ang tanong niya, ano ang maidadagdag ng inyong research doon sa kaalaman na meron na ngayon? So, ibig sabihin, ano ang bago? I-simplify lang natin. Ano ang bago diyan sa research ninyo? At papaano nyo nasabi na merong bago? Meron ba talagang bago? Okay? Ganon yung simplified version ng tanong na ibinigay natin. Okay, saan nyo ngayon pwedeng kunin yung sagot dito? Number 1, sa research gap. Ulitin natin, pwede nyong kunin o gawing basihan na sagot dito sa tanong na ito, yung tinatawag nating research gap. Ang research gap ay yung vacuum. Ibig sabihin, ito yung kaalaman na hindi pa nasasagot ng ibang mga research. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, halimbawa sa lugar ninyo, specifically sa area o sa school ninyo, wala pang gumagawa ng research na ganito. Pwedeng sabihin natin na gawa na yan sa ibang lugar, sa ibang bansa, pero sa lugar ninyo, wala pang nakakagawa. So, that is still considered as a research gap. Okay? Wala pa pong gumagawa ng ganitong research sa aming lugar, sa aming eskwelahan. Okay? So, ano ba yung sabi nun? Ano yung contribution nito? Kaya kung kami po ang gagawa nito, ay magkakaroon po kami ng kaalaman kung ano yung mga epekto ng blended learning at matulungan yung mga estudyante na makapag-adapt doon sa kakulangan na malalaman ng aming research paper. Ang research paper po namin ang maghahanap ng mga bagay kung ano yung naging epekto nitong blended learning at kapag ito po ay nalaman na namin, ay maaari na po kaming gumawa ng mga rekomendasyon para tugunan, mabigyan ng kasagutan itong mga bagay na nalaman ng aming research. Okay, nakita ninyo? So, ulitin natin, ang research gap kailangan supported by evidence. Kailangan may mga ebidensya na talagang itong bagay na ito ay hindi pa nagagawa sa lugar ninyo sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng mga previous studies or previous literatures, pwedeng mga articles or news articles na nagsasabi na sa lugar na ito ay talagang problema ito at wala pang nakakagawa ng ganitong klaseng research. Okay? Research gap ang tawag natin doon. Ano yung pangalawang basihan na pwede nyong gamitin dito sa tanong na ito? Okay? Balikan natin yung tanong ulit, review natin. What will be the contribution of your study to the existing body of knowledge? Yung pangalawang basihan nito ay yung tinatawag nating sa research paper ninyo meron kayo nito. Ang title nito ay yung significance of the study. Significance of the study. Ano ang laman ng significance of the study ninyo? Ito ay naglalaman ng mga benefit ng inyong research sa iba't ibang tawag natin beneficiaries. Okay? Ano ang makukuha ng mga beneficiaries na ito doon sa inyong research paper? Okay? So, pwede nyong gamitin yon. It is in line, it is aligned with the research question that was given to you. So, ano ang gagawin ninyo? Basahin nyo lang. Sabihin nyo muna, magkaroon muna kayo ng introductory statement. So, sabihin nyo, another contribution of our study will be on the following. To the teachers, babasahin nyo na yon sa significance of the study. To the teachers, they will be able to, ganito, adapt to different strategies related to blended learning. Nasa significance of the study yon. Another, for students, they will be able to cope up with the difficulties of ganito during blended learning. Ulitin natin, lahat ng yan, babasahin nyo lang, lagyan nyo lang ng pangdugtong lang ng introductory statement. Tapos i-relate niyo doon sa significance of the study na nakasulat na dapat sa inyong research paper. Okay, that is question number 3. Question number 4. Is there an existing research gap? Ulitin natin. Kunyari, ako yung nagtatanong sa inyo, my dear researchers, is there an existing research gap? If you're going to analyze the question, itong tanong na ito is only answerable by yes or no. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. Pakinggan ninyo kung ano yung tanong. This is a logical question, answerable by yes or no, true or false. So, tinatanong sa inyo, meron bang research gap yang inyong proposal, yang inyong research paper? The answer is yes. Naalala nyo yung unang i-discuss natin na ginamit natin yung research gap? Okay? So, wala pa pong nakakagawa nitong study na ito sa lugar namin. Therefore, meron pong tinatawag nating research gap. Ganun lang. So, ang ginawa ninyo, yes, and then kapag tinanong kayo, can you expound, can you explain, can you discuss why? Ibalik nyo lang yung ipinaliwanag ko sa inyo. Ibigay nyo lang yung definition ng research gap. Ma'am, sir, my dear panelists, because this particular study that we are proposing has not yet been done or implemented in our local, in our school, in our community. Wala pa pong nakakagawa ng ganitong study doon po sa lugar namin. Kaya po, merong research gap. Okay? And then, again, kung meron kayong mga evidences, meron kayong references na may mga article na nagsasabi na doon talaga sa lugar ninyo, problema yung ganito at hindi pa nagkakaroon ng study, the better. Okay? Kasi kailangan yung research gap supported by evidence from previous studies or literatures. Kahit na alin doon sa dalawa. Para meron lang basihan na yung sinasabi ninyo, hindi sarili ninyong opinion. Ito po ay batay sa mga ebidensya na ipapakita ninyo. Kagaya nga ng mga articles sa newspaper or yung mga previous studies. Okay, so that is question number 4. Let us move on to question number 5. Question number 5. Who will benefit from your study and what will be these benefits? Who will benefit from your study and what will be these benefits? So, does this sound familiar? So, kanina, ginamit natin research gap tapos yung significance of the study. Ano ang laman ng significance of the study? Yung benefits saka beneficiaries. Dito, tinatanong na specifically, ano ang magiging benefit ng inyong study at sino yung magbe-benefit dito. So, balikan nyo lang yung significance of the study. Huwag kayong mararatel, di ba? Huwag nyo din sasabihin na, sir, this was already given earlier. No, do not do that. So, kung gusto nilang marinig ulit yung sagot dito sa tanong na ito, ibigay nyo ulit. Sabihin nyo lang, ma'am, sir, our dear panelists, the significance or the beneficiaries of our studies can be found in the significance of the study which is part of our manuscript. Okay? May we refer you to this particular page entitled Significance of the Study, wherein you will see the beneficiaries of our study and the benefits for each beneficiary. Ganun nyo pwedeng i-present. Ulitin natin ha. Nandun na yung tanong, binigay ko kung saan nyo makikita yung sagot at kung papaano nyo dapat ito sagutin. Okay. Next. Question number 6. Ulitin natin. Ika-6 na tanong. What is the background of your study? Ulitin natin. My dear researchers, can you tell us what is the background of your study? The background of the study, papaliwanag natin, should contain yung tinatawag nating context of your study. Konteksto. Pag sinabing background of the study, sino yung mga involved, sino yung mga affected doon sa study ninyo, saan gagawin yung study ninyo. Okay? There is a thin line differentiating yung introduction tsaka yung background of the study. Pero ang palagi nyo lang isipin, kapag ang itinanong sa inyo ay background of the study, ito yung konteksto. Sino-sino yung mga apektado, saan gagawin yung inyong research, at ano yung pwedeng maging epekto nito. So, ito ay pwede pa rin mag-appear doon sa introduction. Ang introduction kasi, ang laman yan, ipinapakita na ninyo yung problema, kaya nga siya introduction, ini-introduce ninyo yung issue na inyong iimbestigahan. Ano yung issue, i-introduce ninyo, i-define ninyo, ibibigay nyo yung effect ng issue, yung apektado ng issue. Yung background of the study, specific na. Sabi natin kanina, di ba, sino yung apektado? Halimbawa, lahat po ng grade 7 students of ganitong eskwelahan. Specific na siya. So, yung introduction, parang general pa. So, sinusundan pa rin ito yung deductive method ng pagsusulat. Pagdating sa background of the study, nagiging specific na. Specific na mga naapektuhan, na mga respondents, na mga epekto, tapos yung lokal, saan gagawin, yun yung background of the study ninyo. Okay? So, anong gagawin ninyo? Basahin ninyo, pumunta kayo doon sa part ng inyong manuscript na makikita sa chapter 1, which is supposed to be the introduction and background of the study, which is the first part of chapter 1. Tignan ninyo doon, nasaan yung mga information na nagsasabi sino ba ang respondents ninyo, ano ba yung mga level nila, grade level, yung age nila, age range nila, anong eskwelahan, saang lugar, anong address. Kung gusto niyo, pwede pa kayo magbigay ng background noong lokal kung saan ninyo gagawin yung inyong research paper or yung investigation na gagawin ninyo. Okay, so that is question number 6. Question number 7. Okay. My dear researchers, this is question number 7. Listen carefully. How are the respondents? Who are the respondents? Who are the respondents of your study? Again, my dear researchers, can you tell us who will be the respondents of your study? So, balik tayo doon sa analysis ng tanong. Ang tinatanong lang, sino ang mga respondents na magpa-participate doon sa inyong research paper? Okay. Madali lang, di ba? Sino bang respondents ninyo? Saan makikita ang sagot? Sa title. Nandyan yan. Pero, general pa lang yung nakalagay sa title. Halimbawa, the effect of blended learning to selected students of, o pwedeng selected senior high school students. Okay, para maging specific yung sa title. The effect of blended learning to the selected senior high school students. Balik tayo doon sa tanong, who will be the respondents of your study? Paano nyo ngayon sasagutin? Siyempre, ipaliwanag ninyo. Magsalita kayo sa English. Sabihin ninyo sa panel ninyo, our dear panelists, the respondents of our study as reflected in our research title will be the selected senior high school students of, kung kailangan yung pangalan ng school, ibigay ninyo. Actually, doon pa lang, nasagot na yon. Who will be the respondents of your study? Tama ba? Nasagot na yon. Pero, kapag nag-follow up question ako, can you be more specific? Okay. Pag tinanong na ako, pag meron kayong follow-up question, can you be more specific? Can you be specific with your answer? Merong part ng inyong research paper sa chapter 3. Ang title nun sa chapter 3, ulitin natin, makikita nyo ito sa chapter 3. Ano ang title nito? Population and Sample of the Study. Doon dapat sa population and sample of the study ninyo, mas comprehensive, mas detalyado na nakasulat kung sino itong selected senior high school students. Papaano sila pinili? Bakit sila selected? Nandun yung mga dahilan doon sa part ng inyong manuscript. Ito ay makikita o dapat makita sa population and sample of the study ng chapter 3. Ngayon, ang problema kapag hindi nyo ginawa yun na maayos, kulang-kulang yung magiging sagot ninyo. Kaya nga, ang manuscript niyo importante na kumpleto lahat yan. Lahat ng detalye, lahat ng information na kailangan, dapat na isulat na ninyo. Bakit? Kasi pagdating ng inyong research defense, yan din ang magiging reference ninyo para masagot ninyo yung mga tanong na ibinibigay sa inyo. Okay, nasagot na natin yung pang-ilang tanong na yon. Pang-pito. We are now on our 8th question. Okay, pang-walong tanong. My dear researchers, this is your 8th question. How did you compute the sample of your study? My dear researchers, can you explain to us how you computed the sample size of the study? Sample size of the study. Okay, ang sample size of the study ay yung mas maliit na grupo na kinuha sa mas malaki. Ang tawag natin doon sa mas malaki, papaliwanag ko muna para makita ninyo kung ano yung itinatanong sa inyo. Sample size. Yung mas malaking grupo, ang tawag natin diyan population. Dahil sa dami ng population, halimbawa, dami ng population, selected senior high school students, sabihin na natin meron kayong 1,000 na senior high school students. Napakadami, kaya malaki yan. Ito dapat ang gagamitin yung respondents ninyo. Pero dahil sa sobrang dami, kukuha lang kayo ng tinatawag ninyong sample, yung mas maliit kumpara doon sa population. Ito ngayong sample will still represent the population. The sample will still represent the population. Okay. Now, ang tanong sa inyo, diba? Balik tayo doon sa tanong. How did you compute for the sample of your study? Hindi pwedeng hinulaan nyo lang. Hindi pwedeng basta may lumabas lang na numero, out of 1,000, kumuha lang kayo ng 10, ng 50, ng 100. Hindi pwede. Merong specific na computation or formula na dapat nyong gamitin para makuha yung sample size of your study. Kayo na ang bahalang mamili kung alin dito sa maraming formula na available ang gusto ninyong gamitin. So halimbawa, ang ginamit ninyo ay Slovenes at lahat ng condition ng Slovenes ay present naman at ginamit ninyo, ipaliwanag ninyo na we used Slovenes formula in order to compute for the sample size. Or pwede naman yung readily available na online application which is Rawsoft, pwede nyo din gamitin yon. Okay? Or pwede nyo naman gamitin yung Cochrane na formula if you are familiar doon sa paggamit ng formula na yun. Ulitin natin, there are various formulas that you can use in order to compute for the sample size. So, ang gagawin nyo lang, ipaliwanag ninyo, ito po yung formula na ginamit namin, tapos ito po yung naging result mula doon sa paggamit ng formula na yon. At ang resulta po, out of 1,000 na selected senior high school students, ang kailangan po namin ay, halimbawa, 250 plus. That's just an assumption. Okay? So, ganun nyo lang ibibigay yung sagot doon sa tanong na ibinigay ko sa inyo. Okay, next, question number 9. Ulitin natin, ikasyam na tanong. Okay. Dear researchers, this is your question. What sampling method did you use and why? Okay, question number 9. What sampling method did you use and why? Kanina, population, sample size. Ngayon naman, sampling method. Okay. Ang sampling method ay yung paraan ng pagkuha ninyo. Halimbawa, sabi natin kanina, 250 ang sample size out of 1,000. Yung sampling method, siya yung magde-determine kung papaano, paraan nga siya method. Papaano ninyo pipiliin yung 250, yung sample size, doon sa population. Papaano nyo kukunin yan? Okay? Ang tawag natin doon ay sampling method. Kapag ganito, ang inyong research, nag-compute kayo ng inyong sample size, ang gagamitin yung sampling method ay yung probability. Probability sampling. Okay, so maraming paraan ng probability. Yung pinaka-common na malamang naririnig nyo rin ay yung random sampling or simple random sampling. So meron ding iba't ibang variation ng random sampling. Meron ding stratified simple random sampling. So kapag sinabi natin yung root word niya, random sampling, yung 250, kailangan random nyo kukunin, pipiliin doon sa 1,000. So pwede nyo gawin na parang draw lots, fishbowl, lahat ng pangalan ng 1,000 isusulat niyo, tapos doon sa listahan na yon, pipili kayo ng 250. Ang tawag natin doon is random sampling method. So, balik tayo doon sa tanong, what sampling method did you use and why? So, paano nyo sasagutin? Ma'am, sir, our dear panelists, the sampling method that we use is random sampling or simple random sampling. Why? Because this is appropriate according to the definition of, magbigay kayo ng citation. Kunin niyo yung definition ng random sampling. Tapos, basahin niyo yung definition niya. Actually, lahat naman yan is appropriate doon sa research na gagawin niyo. Just as long, I mean, madali nyo ma-identify kung appropriate doon sa research na ginagawa ninyo kapag nakita nyo na yung definition. Kaya pinapabasa ko sa inyo, basahin yung definition. Convenience, hindi convenience sampling convenience din can also be another reason kung bakit ito yung ginamit niyo. Ito yung madali at yung accurate at appropriate na sampling method na pwede po namin gamitin sa research na ginagawa namin according to the definition which is reflected in our manuscript. Okay, so that is question number 9. Question number 10. Okay, listen to your next question, my dear researchers. What ethical considerations did you implement? Question number 10. Can you tell us the ethical considerations that you implemented in your research? Okay, merong part ng manuscript ninyo, ethical considerations, which is supposed to be located in chapter 3, kung saan nakalagay yung mga bagay na kinonsider ninyo para maprotektahan ang inyong respondents. Okay? Ang purpose ng ethical considerations is number 1, yung foremost na relevance ng ethical consideration ay maprotektahan yung inyong respondents. Lalong-lalo na kung ang inyong research, yung issue na iniimbestigahan ninyo ay sensitive. So, ano-ano itong mga ethical considerations? Number 1, confidentiality. So, inassure ninyo, pwede nyong sabihin, inassure ninyo, confidentiality so, nasa manuscript ninyo yun, number 1, confidentiality, tapos anong definition ng confidentiality, tapos ipaliwanag ninyo. Ma'am, sir, our dear panelists, we implemented confidentiality wherein, ipaliwanag nyo na, we assured the respondents that we will protect their identity and will not divulge their any information relevant or related to their identity. Okay, isa yun sa example na pwede nyong gamitin doon sa issue na tanong, sa tanong na ethical considerations. And then, another issue or ethical consideration na pwede nyong i-discuss ay yung consent. You were able to get the consent of the respondents when you implemented the study. And then, ganun din ulit yung proseso. Ano yung definition ng consent? And then, after that, ipaliwanag ninyo kung paano nyo in-implement ito doon sa inyong research paper. Paano nyo ipinaliwanag sa respondents? Paano nyo kinuha yung consent sa mga respondents ninyo? So again, this is how you answer this particular question. Okay. Question number 11. Question number 11. Okay. What theory did you use and discuss the reason why you chose this theory? My dear researchers, again, this is your question. What theory did you use and discuss the reason why you chose this theory? Lahat ng research, lalong-lalo na quantitative research, meron tinatawag na theory. Ano ang purpose ng theory ninyo o ng research theory ninyo? Itong mga theory na ito ay basehan ng mga susunod na bahagi ng inyong research paper. Isa sa pwedeng pagbasihan ng inyong statement of the problem ay yung mga tinatawag nating domains or area ng theory. Ito ay makikita at kinukuha doon sa theory. Yung konsepto na pwede nyong gamitin ay pwedeng maging basihan yan ay yung theory. Yung proseso na pwede nyong gamitin doon sa pag-i-implement ng inyong research ay pwede manggaling doon sa theory ninyo. Okay? So this is the relevance of the theory to your research. So kung ang ginamit ko ay theory at ito ay ang naging basihan ng aking statement of the problem, makikita nyo kung ano yung relationship ng theory at ng SOP ninyo. So, kapag tinanong kayo, anong theory ang ginamit ninyo at discuss the reason why you chose this theory. Example ng theory para specific. Ang ginamit kong theory ay yung tinatawag kong MI theory or Multiple Intelligences Theory by Howard Gardner. So, anong gagawin ko? Ipapaliwanag ko yung theory by introducing the theory. The theory that we used, ma'am, sir, is the theory of Howard Gardner entitled MI theory or Multiple Intelligences Theory. So, pinakilala ko na yung title, yung author. Susunod na gagawin ninyo, ipakilala ninyo o ipaliwanag ninyo kung ano yung idea ng theory. Ano yung idea ng theory? So, to continue, nag-explain kayo, the concept of this theory is that it states that there are multiple intelligences aside from what we have known before, which is IQ. So, according to Howard Gardner, there are several areas or intelligences that comprises or that is broken into different areas. And then ipaliwanag nyo bawat area, i-present niyo bawat area. So ganun yung sinasabi natin na ipaliwanag nyo yung idea behind the theory that you are using. Okay, and then yung second part ng tanong, discuss the reason why you chose this theory. Ipaliwanag nyo ngayon yung relevance ng theory doon sa research na ginagawa ninyo. So, multiple intelligences theory. Ang laman nito ay meron daw iba't ibang klase ng intelligences ang bata. So, sa study na ginagawa ninyo, gusto nyong malaman kung saang area ng intelligence nag-e-excel yung mga estudyante. Kaya ito po yung theory na ginamit namin para ma-identify namin kung ano yung iba't ibang area ng intelligences. Dahil ito din po ang gusto naming ma-establish at malaman doon sa aming study. Ano yung mga area at saan nag-e-excel na particular area yung mga estudyante na aming iniimbestigahan. Na-establish nyo na yung relationship ng theory, na-establish nyo na ano yung theory ninyo, ano yung idea ng theory ninyo, at ano ang connection ng theory ninyo doon sa research na ginagawa ninyo. Okay? Okay, so next, this is question number 12. Question number 12. Okay. My dear researchers, this is your next question. Question number 12, how did you formulate the statement of the problem? How did you formulate your statement of the problem? Nakita nyo, doon sa tanong na kasasagot lang natin ngayon, statement of the problem. So, kung ang statement of the problem ninyo ay ibinase ninyo doon sa theory ninyo, pwede nyo na kagad maging sagot yon. Aside from that, meron pa. Okay? So, paano nyo sasagutin? Our statement of the problem was anchored or based on the theory of Howard Gardner, which is multiple intelligences, where we use the different domains of intelligences reflected in our SOP. Yun din yung pinaliwanag natin kanina. Pero, itinanong, di ba? Pero ganun din. Kung ano yung tanong ng previous, parang pwede nyo ulit gamitin dito sa tanong na papaano nyo binuo yung statement of the problem ninyo. So, number 1, sabi natin, our SOP is anchored and based on the theory of Howard Gardner, which is entitled Multiple Intelligences, and these are reflected in our statement of the problem. Okay, that's 1. Ano pa yung isang basehan, sir? Pwede nyong gamitin yung research title ninyo. Yung research title, paano? So, ganito nyo sasagutin. Our statement of the problems are also questions that will help answer the objective or goal of our research paper. Nasaan yung objective and goal ng research paper? Natatandaan nyo kanina? Saan natin ibinase yung objective or goal ng research paper? Sa research title. Diba? So, lahat ng mga tanong sa SOP, mga tanong yan ay ginawa ninyo para makatulong masagot yung research title ninyo. So, you already have 2 bases, diba, ng sagot ninyo for this particular question, which is, what is the basis of your statement of the problem? Okay? So, tapos na tayo doon. Next question. Question number 13. Ulitin natin, question number 13. How did you construct your research instrument? Question number 13. Dear researchers, how did you construct your research instrument? Paano natin dapat ito sagutin? Okay, ang research instrument, ipaliwanag muna natin. Your research instrument is the tool that you will be using in order to gather data. Ulitin natin, ang tinatawag nating instrument ay kung ano man yung tool na ginamit ninyo para makagather kayo ng data. Ano ang halimbawa ng mga research instrument ninyo? Survey questionnaire, interview. Okay, so these are a sample of instruments that you usually or commonly use kapag kayo ay nag-gather ng data while conducting your research paper. So, ang tanong, papaano nyo ginawa, papaano nyo binuo itong research instrument niyo? Papaano nyo ipapaliwanag? Okay, this is how you're going to explain. Ang tinatanong sa inyo, saan nyo kinuha yung mga tanong? Diyan sa instrument niyo. So, sasabihin nyo lang, all of these questions were based from the statement of the problem. Okay. Lahat po ng mga tanong na nasa survey questionnaire namin ay mga tanong na makakatulong masagot yung statement of the problem. So, in summary, the instrument should be based on the statement of the problem. So, halimbawa sa SOP, meron kayong 3 tanong. Meron kayong tanong na i-correlate ninyo yung demographic profile ng teachers doon sa kanilang research, sa mga training and seminars na na-attend nila. Okay? So, unang SOP, what is the demographic profile of the teachers in terms of years of service, rank, at kung ano pa. Sa research instrument ninyo, dapat naka-align yan. Kung tinatanong, what is the demographic profile of the teachers in terms of rank and years of service, sa instrument ninyo nakalagay demographic profile. O, lagay nyo na dyan. Tapos, pangalan, optional. Okay? Isa yan sa ethical considerations. Hindi nyo pwedeng pilitin na isulat yung pangalan nila. Number 2, rank. Susunod, years of service. So lahat yan yung sinasabi ko kanina, binabanggit ko kanina, na dapat lahat ng laman ng inyong instrument ay naka-align sa SOP number 1. Okay? Not unless meron pang ibang iba pang domains or area, yung SOP1 nyo na may kinalaman sa demographic profile, dapat nakalagay din yan sa instrument niyo. Okay, halimbawa, SOP number 2, what trainings or skills development were done during ganito ng mga teachers in terms of, tapos sa kanyo ilalagay na naman yung mga domains. Sa instrument niyo dapat naka-reflect ulit yan. So, halimbawa, tinatanong dito sa SOP, number of seminars attended, numbers of trainings attended, number of colloquiums attended, number of speakership or resource person. So, lahat yan nandun sa SOP number 2. Doon sa instrument niyo dapat naka-reflect din yan. So, meron lang option yan. Halimbawa, seminars attended, tapos lalagay nyo dyan. May mga option, may mga choices sila. Trainings attended, tapos may options sila dyan. So, nakikita nyo, dapat yung instrument ninyo nakabase, naka-angkla, naka-align doon sa SOP ninyo. Okay? Ganun nyo ipapaliwanag yung construction ng research instrument na ginamit ninyo. Okay? Next question. Question number 14. Question number 14. Okay. How did you gather your data? Dear researchers, can you discuss to us how you gathered your data? Kasi doon sa tanong na how, kailangan mag-discuss na kayo. How did you gather your data? Discuss. Ikwento ninyo, inarrate ninyo. Saan makikita yan? Meron kayong part ng manuscript na ang tawag is data gathering procedure. Data gathering procedure. So, sisimulan nyo yan sa kung paano nyo ginawa yung instrument niyo, creation of the instrument, validation of the instrument, yung pagkuha ng permit para mag-conduct ng research, ikukwento nyo lahat yan. Ganun lang gagawin niyo, inanarrate nyo lang. Sir, we first conceptualized the framework, the instrument, and then after formulating the instrument, we validated the instrument. After the validation process, we secured permit to distribute the instrument. After securing a permit, we already distributed the instrument. After a certain period of time, we already retrieved the instrument. Okay? Data gathering procedure yon. Hanggang doon sa retrieval. Hanggang sa makuha na ninyo yung instrument. Ganun lang. Ikukwento nyo lang. Ulitin natin, it is really important that you listen to the question. How? Pag how, ikwento ninyo. Papaano kayo nag-gather ng data? Ganun lang ang katumbas nun sa Tagalog. Okay, next. Question number 15. Question number 15. What are the limitations of your study? Question number 15. What are the limitations of your study, dear researchers? Okay, discuss natin. Ang limitation of your study is different from the term delimitation of your study. Paulit-ulit na din nating pinapaliwanag ito. Pag sinabing limitation of your study, these are the things that were not included. Ang tawag natin dito, exclusion. These are the things that were not included in your research. Hindi kasama sa research ninyo dahil sa mga bagay na hindi nyo kontrolado. Halimbawa, acts of God. Halimbawa, yung mga bagay na natural calamities, yung mga disaster. Dahil doon, hindi nyo na naisama ang mga sumusunod. Okay? So, limitations. Limitations are considered weakness, but I don't want to use the term weakness. So, limitations are just exclusions. Yung mga hindi na isama na pwede maging basihan for further studies. So, dahil dito sa mga binanggit kong dahilan, hindi po namin na isama ang mga sumusunod. So, halimbawa, Ang target ninyo, basic education. Meron kayong hindi na isama yung, halimbawa, grade 1. Kasi nga, dahil sa disaster na yun, hindi na sila nakakapasok. Hindi na isama yung grade 3 kasi kokonti lang pumapasok. Limitation of your study. Explain nyo lang ano-ano yung mga limitation na yun at dapat yung dahilan niya will fall under the category na talagang hindi nyo kontrolado yung mga sitwasyon na yon kung bakit hindi sila naisama. Okay? So that is what we call limitation of the study. Now, idagdag na natin, Sir, ano naman po yung delimitation of the study? Baka yun po yung itanong sa amin. Ang delimitation of the study are also exclusions. Yung mga hindi na isama sa research ninyo, pero kayo ang nag-decide. Di ba kanina wala kayong magagawa kasi talagang hindi nyo hawak yung sitwasyon. Ito naman, kayo ang nag-decide na hindi na isama itong mga bagay, yung mga nasa delimitation ninyo, because of justifiable reasons. Be careful with the use of justifiable reasons. Halimbawa, ang pwede siguro of valid na justifiable reasons is yung resources ninyo. Whatever resource na sa palagay ninyo, kinapos kayo, kinulang kayo, ipaliwanag ninyo at yun ang magiging dahilan ninyo sa inyong delimitation of the study. Ano-ano mga resources na kinapos kayo? Pera. Dahil sa kulang na yung pera ninyo, hindi nyo na isinama. Hindi nyo na isinama itong grupo na ito. Kaya kailangan dapat may paliwanag din mabuti yan. Okay? Hindi pala kaya ng pera nyo eh. Bakit nyo isinama? O, di ba? So, you have to make the panel understand na ito po yung dahilan kung bakit hindi po sila nakasama. Ang tawag natin doon, delimitation of the study. Okay? Hindi nyo sila isinama. Okay, next. Question number, anong question na tayo? Question number 16. Question number 16. Hindi ko alam kung paano ko na i-ano. Okay, question number 16. What research method and design did you use in the study? What research method and design did you use in the study? Ulitin natin, examples of research method will be yung quantitative and qualitative ninyo and mixed method. Okay? So, anong gagawin ninyo? Nasa ano ito eh? Nasa chapter 3. Okay? Method and technique use sa chapter 3 ninyo. Okay? So, ang gagawin nyo lang, banggitin ninyo kung anong method. The method that we use is the quantitative method. Ano yung design ng quantitative? Halimbawa, descriptive. Quantitative, descriptive. And the design that we use is descriptive design. Okay? So, it's quantitative, descriptive. Now, pwede nyong gawin, banggitin nyo yung method, tapos yung definition. According to Creswell, quantitative research is, bigyan yung definition niya. Tapos, yung design, descriptive method, according to Creswell pa rin, is defined as ganito. Now, kapag follow-up question kayo, why did you use this method and this design? I-relate nyo lang, according to the definition, this is used during ganito. And, paano nyo i-relate? Our research is also ganito din yung ginagawa ninyo. Okay? So, ganun nyo lang establish yung relationship ng method at saka ng design na ginagawa ninyo doon sa research na kinoconduct ninyo. Okay? So, that is how you should answer that particular question. What research method and design did you use in the study? So, di ba, hindi naman na tinanong kung bakit. Now, kung tinanong why, yun sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, based on the definition, it also fits with the research that we are conducting. Okay, so dapat may establish nyo yung relationship ng inyong research doon sa method and design ng inyong study. Okay, next. Question number 17. Question number 17. What statistical treatment will you be using in the study? Dear researchers, what statistical treatment will you be using in your study? Reference, pwede nyong gamitin, nasa chapter 3. Data analysis. Analysis and statistical treatment. That's the last part of chapter 3. Ano nakalagay doon? Mga formula lang. So, papaano nyo sasagutin? The statistical formula that we used for this particular study in order to analyze the data are the following. Basahin nyo yung formula. Hindi nyo na kailangan ipakita yung formula eh. Basahin nyo lang yung mga formulas. And that's it. Okay? Ganyan nyo lang ipipresent yung sagot dito sa what statistical treatment will you be using in the study. So, kung i-simplify natin, ano yung mga formula na gagamitin ninyo para dito sa study na ito? So, halimbawa, measures of central tendency, percentage, o kung meron kayong mga ANOVA, chi-squared, sabihin nyo lang. Tapos, kung gusto ninyo, basahan ninyo ng definition. Ano ba yung ANOVA? Ano yung chi-square? Ano yung t-test? Ano yung z-test? Ano yung Pearson R? Hindi ba? And then, i-relate ninyo sa study na ginagawa ninyo. Okay. Next. Question number 18. Question number 18. Dear researchers, to continue, how did you measure the variable in your study? What scale did you use? And is this scale relevant to your study? How did you measure the variable in your study? What scale did you use? And is this scale relevant to your study? How are you going to answer this? Number one, this is only applicable if you are conducting quantitative research. This is only applicable if you are conducting quantitative research. So, yung verbal description ng scale na gagamitin ninyo, halimbawa, the effectiveness of blended learning. Example lang, the effectiveness of blended learning to in teaching mathematics to selected senior high school students. Effectiveness. So, anong scale gagamitin ninyo? Dapat yung verbal description ng scale na gagamitin nyo sa Likert scale. Ang pronunciation yan, Likert scale. Pero marami kayo naririnig Likert scale. Okay lang yun. Kung tanggap na yon ng majority, pwede na yon Likert or Likert scale. So, ang verbal description ninyo sa Likert scale ninyo ay dapat very effective, effective, not effective. Yun yung sinasabi natin. So, paano nyo sasagutin itong tanong na ito? We measure the effectiveness of our variable by implementing a 3-point scale or 3-point Likert scale, which has the verbal description of very effective, effective, and not effective. Ganun lang, di ba? So, my point here is, dapat yung verbal description ng scale ninyo should coincide, should be aligned with your research title. Ang hinahanap niyo sa research title is yung effectiveness eh. Tapos, ang nakalagay sa verbal description ninyo is iba yung description niya. Di ba? So, dapat naka-align siya. Kung effectiveness ito, effectiveness din dapat, yun nandun sa scale ninyo para ma-measure niya yung effectiveness, which is, yun naman ang goal ng inyong research paper. Okay, next. Question number 19. Question number 19. My dear researchers, what are the findings of your study? My dear researchers, can you present to us the findings of your study? Alam nyo, isa nga ito sa pinakamadali eh. You know why? You don't need to explain, not unless you are asked. Dito, pinapapresent lang sa inyo yung findings ng study ninyo. So, punta kayo doon sa part ng research paper ninyo kung saan nakalagay yung findings of the study ninyo. Reminder lang, ang findings of the study should be aligned with your SOP. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Kung ano yung SOP, SOP 1, ito yung findings sa SOP 1. Kaya sa amin, pinapalagay muna natin yung SOP 1, tapos immediately sa baba, findings of the study. SOP 2, susulat ulit nila dyan. Tapos yung findings sa SOP 2. Ganon. So, anong gagawin niyo? Babasahin niyo lang yung findings of the study niyo. Tapos, pag tinanong, what is the basis of your findings of the study? Additional tip na to. Tinanong kayo, bigla kayo nagulat, what is the basis of your findings of the study? Ma'am, sir, our dear panelists, These findings are based on the tables that were presented in the previous chapter, which is chapter 4, Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. Dapat yung chapter 4, ang laman lahat niyan, yung mga tables, which is yung basihan ng findings ninyo. So, ganun nyo ipapaliwanag. Saan nyo kinuha itong mga findings na ito? Ma'am, this is anchored on the findings of the tables that are found in chapter 4 or in the previous chapter. Okay? Last question. Question number 20. What are the recommendations of the study? What are the recommendations of your study? Now, reminder na lang to kasi ang gagawin nyo lang sa recommendation, babasahin ninyo. Reminder number 1, listen carefully. Reminder number 1, wag kayong magbibigay ng recommendation na hindi kasama sa objective ng study ninyo. Huwag kayong magbibigay ng recommendation na walang kinalaman sa study ninyo. Yung bigla nyo lang naisip, tapos nilagay nyo dyan kasi magandang idea. Do not include recommendations that are not relevant or related to your study. So ulitin natin ang recommendation, babasahin nyo lang. Babasahin nyo lang yung recommendation. Pero mga reminder lang itong mga sinasabi ko. Reminder number 2, ang recommendation ninyo, bago nyo sabihin sa panel ninyo, should include the following elements. Number 1, yung action na nire-recommend ninyo. Yung action na nire-recommend. Number 2, ay yung point person or yung point organization na gagawa ng action na nire-recommend niyo. Halimbawa, recommendation number 1 nyo, to conduct more trainings and seminars for teachers. Action yon. Sino ngayon ang gagawa? Sino ang mag-i-initiate? Siyempre, halimbawa, principal, example. The principal should initiate, organize trainings related to ganito for teachers. Yun yung sinasabi nating elements that should be present sa inyong mga recommendations. So basically, we have already gone through, again, these questions that are commonly asked during your research defense. So again, I thank you very much, everyone, for listening until this point na naka 1 hour tayo ng discussion. I know that if you put to heart what you are doing in your research, you will be able to not only pass your research defense, but pass it with flying colors. So, you just need to prepare. Kung hindi nyo naintindihan, ulit-ulitin nyo lang. Kung kailangan ulitin nyo itong mga videos natin, ulitin niyo. Kung kailangan ulitin ninyo at basahin ninyo yung manuscript ninyo, ulitin ninyo. And believe me, this will go a long way. Hindi lang sa subject ninyo ngayon, sa mga susunod na subject ninyo, sa subject ninyo, sa susunod na level ninyo. Kahit na nag-work kayo, research will still be an integral part of your skill. Thank you very much, everyone. And again, I am asking your help to please support our YouTube channel at Toket Padama by clicking that subscribe button and click that notification bell to alert you when a new video has been uploaded. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate all of your help and enthusiasm. Keep learning. Stay safe. God bless, and I'll see you on our next video. Bye.